Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And we're just the curators. And who are we? I am Jamie the Vet Williams, and with me, as always, my tag team partner, Brandon. And boom, tagging in. And Brandon, what's going on this week?
Not much, man. I'm actually really proud of how I chopped up that. Remember that last week's impact we agreed was terrible.
Oh,
It was,
terrible. We agreed, and Chris Ams agreed from the PWC. We all agreed.
but I think I'm really proud of how I chopped it up and salvaged it into a much better show.
All right. Well, we will get to that very shortly. But first, we have a few business items, one of which, is the chat. We must acknowledge the chat. Who are we without the chat? I mean, they are the C in the VBC. And if Colin shows up in the chat, it's a double C. I mean, they're very important. So who do we have with us?
Let's see. We got Lab Rat. We got Jerome Hall. We got Elizabeth, Buckshot Kid, Javi Uchida. And of course, more will be coming in as we go because we going all night long.
All night long. Did we see do we have Aaron Ben Shlomo as well? I thought I saw.
Yes, but that was about 2:24 p.m. At least that shows on. Yeah.
He may not be here yet, or he may not be here again, or he may not be here. But he was here to say hello or good night or whatever. So yeah, good to have everybody with us on this wonderful Monday evening. It's better than watching Raw. I can almost guarantee you that. Speaking of other wrestling, a lot of stuff was going on yesterday with Forbidden Door. A lot of news coming out of that. A lot of interesting matches, interesting choices, interesting booking. I was able to watch the show, and I felt like it was pretty good overall compared to the usual AEW kind of stuff. I thought they had a good card. I thought they booked the matches in a good order that made sense. But I also felt like by the end things were kind of like I almost, if I didn't know better, I would feel like the main event had a little bit of pressure to kind of rush because some of the time had gotten taken up on matches earlier on the card.
There's a reason why they say you gotta stick to your times.
Right. And so there's a lot of matches that didn't need extra time. And so I don't know, but that's just a feeling I get. I can't really prove it. But just seeing the way the guys worked with the body language, and then after there was now, if you didn't see the show, Bryan Danielson somehow managed to get hurt in a match with the safest wrestler in the world. Never mind the best. He's definitely one of the safest. And he came off the top rope with his elbow drop that he always does, and somehow Bryan Danielson managed to have his arm in a place where it got broken on the landing, just lying there. He had his arm, and I guess it happened. I couldn't see it happen. I even slowed it down frame by frame to see. I was like, did he drop the elbow like right on his arm, or did he land on his arm or anything? I wasn't able to tell anything different. So after that, the match stopped for a little bit, just for a second, because once he probably communicated, at first Okada didn't know, then he goes to pick him up for the Rainmaker. Then you can kind of see Danielson slump over, and while he's slumping over, Okada leans over like he's pretending to try to pick him up by the waist, but he's really getting close enough for Danielson to probably tell him like, hey, I'm hurt, or whatever. So he backs off. Then the officials check on Danielson, and I guess he tells them that, you know, he can go, and then Okada comes back over and they continue the match with Danielson having a broken arm. And they go through kind of the rest of their match with Danielson having a broken arm, and it doesn't look the greatest. But more so than that, especially considering the finish, which I won't spoil, even though Ben spoiled it live for me when I had to do the Monday Locker Room. But more so than any of that stuff, the fans, the moment that they stopped everything to check on Danielson, the fans were completely out of the match after that. You could tell everybody like had the wind taken out of their sails. They were super hyped getting into it. They were all into the match throughout the match. And then after that happened, like whatever they did after that, the people were just like, they just couldn't get back into it. They were worried about Danielson. You know, he's visibly holding his broken arm and not using it, you know? And it's, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't the Blackpool Combat Club heel right now?
Pretty much. I mean, they're definitely dicks.
Well, there's your out. He could say, I'm hurt. I don't want to compete anymore, and use that as an out to get out of the match. Get heat and build anticipation of the rematch.
Right. Well, he's the I mean, yeah, you can do that if you're a heel, but maybe they're not. I don't know. It's a weird thing with them because he's like, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'd have to go over months and months of AEW booking to try to explain how, like, technically they would be heels, but they're just not. I don't know. It just doesn't fit his character to quit. But it could. He could make it work. He's done stuff that's against his character in the past, so he could do it again. But I don't know, man. Whatever they did, it you know, like the people tried to get with it, but you could tell like that they were more concerned about real life issues than a phony wrestling match at that point. So that kind of sucked. Very unfortunate. Bad way to close, you know, the show, I think. Liz asked, was it just me or did the Jungle Boy Sonata match feel like it lasted too long and Jungle Boy got too much offense? And yes, probably. That was another weird finish. It just sort of came out of nowhere. It looked like everybody expected a kick out, and it never happened. And then they went into a post-match angle that also took a little too long. It was too weird and sloppy. I didn't like it. It was so weird. Everything was weird. Javi saying the Ospreay versus Omega match seemed like it was never ending. It did. I see a lot of people praising that match, and I'm just like, you know, it was so funny because I was watching a little bit of the media scrum, and Will Ospreay comes in, and Tony Khan's sitting there, and he's like, Tony. Well, of course he's sitting there, Brandon. Don't be surprised. It's his job to sit there. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that's funny about it. Like, Will Ospreay comes in, and Tony Khan's sitting there saying, you know, hey, that was one of the greatest matches I ever had the pleasure of seeing. Thank you very much, Will. You should be very proud of yourself. It's a great effort. Just saying all these nice things. It's like, motherfucker, if I was Tony Khan in that situation, you would have forced me to say something like, I'm sorry, what the hell were you doing? You stabbed this man in the head with a screwdriver in my company. Are you trying to get me sued? What the fuck's wrong with you? That's what I'd be saying. I would be congratulating somebody on a great match and then being proud. You used a screwdriver on a human. That's a lie. That's a liability, man. You can't be stabbing people with screwdrivers and having blatant interference from a guy that you ejected from ringside already. Just come back out and the referee see him and just let him be out there after he was already ejected, and then just be like, great match, guys, great match. You can't do that. You have to be. It wasn't a great match. You guys just abused each other in a phony wrestling match. That's what you did. I don't know. It wasn't great to me. So, and it was long. So if they took any time off that main event, then fuck them. But I don't know. Anyway, that was Forbidden Door.
Come
Some
and knock
other
on my door.
there's there's a few like Impact Wrestling news items if I'm looking at this page. We talked about this morning on the Monday Locker Room as of this recording. It was this morning. And I talked with Ben about the Giselle Shaw saying it's important for her to see online negativity. And so like I can quickly kind of go over what she said on that. She's saying something she says something I actually had to learn how to deal with, because no matter if it's a positive or negative comment, I see it all online. And Impact did say, hey, we can block those so you don't have to see it. I think it's so important for me that I see those, because it's part of me to grow and be like, you know what, those comments, they shouldn't affect me. At the end of the day, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, people are going to say something no matter what, because somewhere someone out there is very unhappy, or they just want to stay relevant, or they just want to be in the conversation to feel like they're included. Whatever they do doesn't reflect what I do, and that's something I had to learn and be like, you know what, it's not me, it's them. So that's something that we all can learn from, that we got to let more stuff go, because it's something more to do with the person saying it than the person receiving it most of the time, if not all of the time. Sometimes it stings if some random person out of nowhere stumbles upon like maybe a small truth, and you take that to heart because you believe it yourself, and somehow somebody else already thought of that, and it's a negative thing about you that you already knew or felt. So that can kind of sting sometimes, but you have to remember that's these things don't define you or whatever. What do you think, Brandon, about like the online negativity that we see? I know that, a lot of times when I see your posts, you say things about how you've got to move on and just not be a part of the problem, or whatever the thing is that you're saying at the current time. But the point is, I see that you kind of think about these issues as well.
Yeah, I've been noticing I know I've personally been getting kind of wrapped up in some of the stuff. It's like, wait a minute, I got to kind of take a step back and like, okay, what's the bigger picture here? What am I actually doing? Am I actually being a part of the problem or a part of the solution?
Right.
And so got to make the steps to change.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're on, say, Twitter, for example, it's always part of the problem.
Very true.
Because no one that's really needs to hear this is hearing it. It's just a way for people to anonymously bitch a lot of times. And so that's why I like to primarily keep it to people that are making jokes or promoting something that they're doing coming up. And Buckshot Kid has a great comment, but I don't think I'm going to read it. Let's just say, if you're not here live with us on YouTube, Twitch, and you're listening on Channel Attitude later, you're missing all the live interactions with our great C of the VBC. So that's Giselle Shaw there. Another news item, apparently Zachary Wentz returns to Impact Wrestling, which you may know of this guy that was caught up with Kimberly, also formerly of Impact Wrestling, who made some allegations, and this guy got fired over it, leaving his tag team partner high and dry. And he's doing pretty well for himself as a singles over in NXT, or at least they're pushing him. But apparently these there's some tapings of stuff that has not aired yet. Allegedly, I guess the return is slated to air the 29th. So this week. Sorry for the spoiler if you were hoping to be surprised by the return of Zachary Wentz, but yes. So he'll be back with Trey Miguel, and they'll have 2/3 of the Rascals there. Who knows if they'll try to revive that or whatever. What do you think about Zachary Wentz returning to Impact Wrestling?
He needs a place to work. I'm happy. I'm happy he's got a job and he's got a steady paycheck coming in.
I guess Kimberly ain't coming back.
Probably not. I wouldn't. I wouldn't put any money on that one.
Well, hopefully she can get some. She can get some work in the undead realm somewhere. Maybe they've got like a Starbucks or something there. An undead Starbucks. We got. Let's see, a Mickey James injury update. Cleared to get back in the ring several weeks ago, but unique contractual situation makes it so that she can't just be called back to work by Impact. Okay, that's a good way of saying I'm a superstar. So we'll see if she comes back. We'll see. But yeah, other than that, not really a lot of amazing stuff. Well, here's some Moose items. Let's look at this. Let's look at a couple of Moose items, since we're damn sure not going to get very much Moose on this episode that we're about to talk about. This is an interview he did with the Undisputed podcast, where he says, "That's also my big scare with ever going to a new company or ever going somewhere else, making new friends. I am really shy when it comes to getting to know people or being cool with people. I am usually to myself. I've always been shy. Every time it comes to leaving Impact, that's always a big factor in my decision making." So maybe there's an answer of why Moose has decided to stay with Impact. It's a comfortable situation for him. Although, you know, if they're not offering you the right amount of money, or, you know, I think shyness is something you could definitely overcome. But apparently they're treating him well financially, which is the most important thing in a profession, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. If he's getting the compensation he needs, they're taking care of him, and he's doing fine, and he's happy where he's at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they also asked him something about, this is a completely separate article, but it's the same podcast, I think, unless he just made two separate appearances, but I doubt it. But he's saying, as you know, in pro wrestling, everybody can't be on top forever. Oh, he's talking to Bobby Fish on this podcast. Okay, of course, that makes sense. I mean, there's only one man that's doing it, and that's Roman Reigns. But if you're not Roman Reigns, that's not real life in pro wrestling. I had my 8-month run as the world champion, and it was just a good run. It was a pretty good run. I feel like a lot of people's time in Impact Wrestling is not always long term. They can't always build the company around you and have you be on top forever. You know what I'm saying? It has to be a rotating ship. All right, so Moose is saying here that you can't do a Roman Reigns in Impact. It almost sounds like a direct response to things that I've said on this show about Moose being the Roman Reigns of Impact. So if there was ever any doubt that Moose is a fan of the Impact Attack, you know, let those doubts dissipate, because he's trying to answer me through Bobby Fish's podcast. But I don't agree. If you're going to sign the longest term deal in Impact history, doesn't that mean that you most certainly could be the guy? I mean, what else could make you the guy other than that? And what else guy do they have that's going to be that loyal? I mean, he's just saying he doesn't want to leave because he doesn't want to go to a new place. And he signed the longest deal that Impact's ever had. So I think if you're ever going to do something like that, the time is now. But even besides all that, Brandon, what do you agree that Impact can't be a one-man company? Like, you can't build it around one guy, and that you have to have a revolving door? Is that just, or do you think, it sounds to me like it's almost making excuses why you've got to pass this belt on and nobody really gets like a super long run? But yeah, do you agree with that?
It can be done. It just has to be with the right person, and the right booking and creative.
That's very true. And Moose is the right guy. I think.
Yes, absolutely. You can build that company around Moose.
Yeah. So, hey, yeah, That's what I would do. It's so obvious. It's painfully obvious. And the more we watch these shows, you look at every single other option that they have, even including some free agents they could bring in if they could bring them in. And I'm just like, I don't know. I see a Moose dynasty. I just do. I don't think. I'm not saying that, realistically, I think we talked about this last week. I don't really know what Impact can do to change their fortunes. Like, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to, like, I don't think they'll become mainstream. I don't think anything they can do at this point is really going to make them like a serious third brand or any sort of competitor. I just think that that train has sailed basically, and now they just are what they are. But if as long as you're continuing to do it, and you see the success of something that's got like a long term, like if you just stick with it and you see like the long term payoff of having a guy like Roman on top and the things that you can do with it. You don't have to copy that exactly, but just the idea of having a guy on top for a long time to be the guy in your company and carry that company. You've seen how it doesn't hurt. It certainly is not going to make Impact do any worse, right? I mean, consistency can't make you, only being consistently inconsistent can make you fail. I think. So.
The show.
All right. Well, we all agree that Moose should be the guy. But in any case, you're not going to see that reflected here in our episode when we talk about this episode tonight. So before we do that, let's see how well Moose is represented in the rewrite in Punching Up Impact.
I think you're going to like how well he's represented.
I'm just going to lean back.
All right. So we open the show with a recap of Against All Odds. Pyro and Ballyhoo go to the announce table where the announcers give their thoughts on the results of Against All Odds and then run down the card for tonight. We have an in-ring with Motor City Machine Guns. Motor City Machine Guns music and entrance. Sabin and Shelley cut promos on what their title victories mean to them. They bring up how they're going to bring back, they bring up how the weekly fighting champion is back in vogue, and they decide they're going to have open challenges for tonight and defend their titles against whoever answers the challenges, and they head to the back, and we go to our first commercial break.
Okay, all right. Definitely cutting down that opening slog.
Oh, yeah, like I said, I was going to take an axe to that. All right, and then we got a Macklin pre-tape. He talks about how he was robbed at Against All Odds due to nepotism. He brings up how it's D'Amour's cliques and friends who get the opportunities, airtime, and positions of influence and power. Then we go to our first match, Moose versus Swan. Moose music and entrance, Swan music and entrance, Moose up clean. And we go to a design pre-tape where Diener chastises the group and brings up how they have not accomplished anything they set out to accomplish. He gives Khan and Angels one more chance to prove themselves tonight against Decay, and if they don't eliminate them, the design will disband and he will eliminate them himself.
All right.
And then they go backstage to Moose and Myers, and it goes just like it did, except Moose mentions he's got business to take care of before he leaves the shots. And then we go to our second commercial break.
All right, a little more Moose intrigue. I'm with it.
Right, and then backstage, you have a Nick Aldis promo where he puts over becoming the number one contender, and he puts over Alex Shelley for becoming champion and mentions their respective histories with Impact Wrestling, and he ends it with May the Best Man Win at Slammiversary.
All right.
Then we go to a pre-tape with Heath, the same one that was on the show. And then match 2, Trey Miguel versus Lince Dorado. Trey music and entrance. Trey cuts a promo where he agrees with Macklin's earlier comments about D'Amour's nepotism. Dorado music and entrance. Trey up after using the paint can. Announcers hype Sabin's Oprah challenge for after the commercial break. Go to third commercial break. Match 3, X Division Championship, Sabin versus, we'll see. Sabin music and entrance. Sabin promo to call out challenger. Trey Miguel music and entrance.
Does he get
Trey,
the paint this time?
nope, just walks out.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And Trey is up after Bully and Macklin help him win. New X Division champion Trey Miguel. The three of them beat down Sabin. Shelley, Kazarian, and Heath run out. Santino comes out with security. And Santino has Trey, Bully, and Macklin thrown out of the building and then tells production to cut to commercial.
Wow. Okay. So now we've got a new alignment. And this is going off. Well, with this, we have to kind of go off into a different timeline because I don't think they're ever going to go with this.
No, absolutely not. But hey, one can dream.
Mm-hmm. Well, one can.
All right. So then we go to a backstage where Santino, Sabin, and Shelley are together as Sabin's getting looked at by a trainer. Shelley asks Santino why he threw them out of the building when they wanted to fight. Santino mentions there's a big announcement coming up with HR and legal ramifications that D'Amore is about to make, and the attack on Sabin gives them the justification to have them removed so they don't get involved with that.
All right.
In ring, Scott D'Amore music and entrance, cuts a promo about how his actions against all odds have led to Bully, Macklin, and others to file complaints against him, and the board has told him to take an indefinite leave of absence. Scott thanks the fans before he leaves the mic in the ring and leaves.
All right. Okay. So we're still going to give him music. I would cut that out. I'm tired of him having music.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I probably should have. You're right.
It's not too late. We can cut his music.
Cut the music.
Cut his music.
All right, and they go to a pre-tape of Gia doing a sit-down with Trinity and Shaw, and it's basically kind of like they just kind of take shots at each other, like they see on the reality shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends in a brawl with Deanna coming out to help Trinity because Shaw's always got the crew.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to match 4, Design versus Decay. Decay music and entrance, Design music and entrance. Decay over after Diener turns on Khan and Angels and aligns with Decay, and Decay turns heel.
Really? Okay. Another fork in the timeline, it looks like.
And then backstage, you get the Goodger package and promo that goes the same as we saw on the show with Dango coming in and they do their interactions.
All right. Okay.
And we go to a backstage of Eddie Edwards and Alicia arriving late to the building. They complain about a flat tire that kept them from making it to the building on time. Kazarian bumps into them, and Edwards says, despite whatever personal issues there are between them, there are Kowalski guys, and Kowalski guys stick together, especially with everything that's going on lately. So basically, Edwards is realizing there's kind of battle lines are being drawn, shit's going down, and he's trying to stick to somebody he knows.
Is it true that Kowalski guys stick together? If that's true, shouldn't Triple H have given both of these guys jobs, and shouldn't they be in the WWE right now?
This is true.
Maybe you can write that in next time.
But Kazarian ends up blowing him off, walks away, but Eddie does not get angry, but he's a little frustrated, but not angry, like it didn't go as like he wanted it to.
Okay.
Then we go to match 5, Impact World Tag Team Titles. King and Gene versus ABCs. Kenny King and Sheldon Gene music and entrance. ABC music and entrance. ABC up after Sheldon makes rookie mistake, and Kenny King chastises him like a teacher would to their pupil.
Yes, a teacher would do that.
And then we go to a vignette with the Coven, and they're at a table with a crystal ball, and notice a disturbance in the undead realm due to Diener's alliance with Decay.
Oh, I see. So we're playing out a movie in the crystal ball?
I mean, they wouldn't really be seeing anything. It would just be, it'd be a smoke filled, and they're kind of reading that.
Okay, all right. So they're fortune tellers, sort of, and now also, okay, it's like a TV. Got it.
And then we go to our 5th and final commercial break. And they come back with a Death Dolls vignette, and they feel a disturbance in themselves from the undead realm.
I'm disturbed.
He's got to keep the storyline going.
Mm-hmm.
New Japan promo, and then we go backstage with Shelley and Sabin. Saban hypes up Shelley, and Saban says the Saito stays with Motor City Machine Guns. Go to the announce desk. They run down the card for next week's show. Impact World Title match number 6. Motor City Machine Guns music and entrance. Shelley calls out opponent for open challenge. Moose music and entrance. Moose runs in through crowd and gets jump on Shelley. Shelley refuses to stay down and keeps fighting back. You get a ref
That's
bump.
definitely Shelley. That's why I was laughing when you accidentally almost said Alex Selly, because I'm like, well, that's definitely not him. That's definitely not his name.
Then we get a ref bump. Moose hits spear and goes to grab a chair. Nick Aldis runs out, grabs chair from Moose. Aldis swings at Moose, but he ducks and hits Shelley with it. Moose spears Aldis. Moose spears Shelley again. Pins him. New Impact World Champion Moose.
Yeah, right here on the damn weekly show. Fuck all this messing around waiting to try to sell pay-per-views. Let's just get it out of the way now. Let's do it now. Pull the trigger now. There is no tomorrow. That is not sarcastic. I really am happy that Moose has become the fantasy champion here. Well, we've definitely forked off in a different direction here. We've got new alliances that now you're going to have to, despite whatever they do week to week, you're going to not only have to punch up the decisions they make, but you're going to have to continue on with the decisions that you have made. So maybe one day, eventually, it won't even matter what show they're doing. You'll just be writing an episode that's completely from scratch based on the stuff that you've done, which is going to be more work for you. But nonetheless, it should be interesting, and I look forward to it, especially as long as Moose is champion. And if anything about that changes, then I will have to step in with some creative control and say that doesn't work for me, brother. There you have it. New virtual Moose champion. Love it.
Yes, it's not so much that I really wanted to blow the world title match change on the free show. It's more like, okay, we kind of made a fuck up, gotta fix it.
Well, I mean, really, who cares about Alex Shelley winning it at some random against all odds? Really doesn't help any business or do anything for anybody. It's just it's like a lifetime achievement award. You know, you could hand that to a guy off screen and have him take pictures with it later for his social media. You don't have to build a pay-per-view around it. And then if you hear that, a world title change hands on TV, maybe you'd be like, oh, I didn't know that kind of stuff happened on Impact. Maybe it'll be check it out. And obviously, I don't think anybody thinks like that. This isn't the 90s anymore, but still. So very interesting stuff. However, that's the opposite of what we're going to talk about, I don't know, like right now. So you guys in the chat, get your AMA questions ready, because I am not going to spend a hell of a lot of time on this. And I doubt that Brandon will either. I think the most time he'll spend on it is next week when he has to punch it up. Here we go with our impacts, our random impacts.
There is one thing you're going to hear me throw a pretty big fit about, and I'm pretty sure you're going to throw about it the same thing too.
All right, tag team fit, coming up. Javi says, I got nothing. Well, you got time is what you got. There's still a few minutes to talk about it if you want to come up with something. OVE versus Myers and the Hands, including their usual promo of talking about the city they're in. The only interesting thing in this match is that Moose does run in and he ends up causing Jake Chris to get pinned by Brian Myers here. So he's definitely an affiliation with Myers and the Good Hands, but we don't know where that's going to leave the Good Hands in the future if these guys start teaming up. Are they going to all be a group, like a faction, or the Good Hands are going to get left by the wayside, or whatever? We don't know, but that's the only intrigue we have coming out of this, and it's pretty much our only Moose sighting is just him running in and shoving I think he pushed Chris off the top turnbuckle or something like that. Yeah. So yeah. Any thoughts on this opening match?
Yeah, I was incredibly confused by it because didn't we see that one pre-tape last week where Myers basically said he's done with the good hand and tried to get back with Moose, and Moose blew him off?
I'm pretty sure we did. So either that doesn't matter or they shot that out of order and edited it poorly. Like maybe they shot that pre-tape after this match, but then they put it on the episode before this match aired. Like, I couldn't tell you.
They really need a continuity, Czar.
They do. So, but yeah. Well.
Yeah, and then here's where they lost me. Right at the open, the babyface has his back turned to the heel for a prolonged period, and heel doesn't take it.
They're too busy thinking about how upset they are that they're in Cleveland. Or whatever part of Ohio they're in. So, yeah, you'll notice that a lot. I think one of the things that's really annoying if you're watching, I don't know how it looks to everybody, like if you have just your favorite promotion that you watch, like whether it's WWE, AEW, whatever. But if you are watching across all of them, you see a lot of guys do this where there's a lot of guys waiting for other guys to turn around. And it's just like, just hit them. Like, especially if you're a heel, just hit them. What are you waiting to? Even going up and like spinning them around to face you, so that you can hit them with a move. I see them do that. It's like, just hit them from behind. They'll get it. It's more dastardly that way.
And if they know what they're doing, they can take it right back and get back on offense because that's what the baby faces do. They out wrestle the heel.
Yeah, pretty much. So. And even if you're a babyface and your heel has got the back to you, the babyface should just come with a schoolboy, O'Connor roll up, anything, just a wrestling move. You don't have to like punch him in the back of the head, but you can hit a backslide, come up with a wrestling move from behind. Like, hey, you took your eyes off the ball. I'm going to wrestle you. Like that kind of wrestling. So.
Right, exactly. If a babyface in there trying to have a wrestling match and his opponent gives him his back, I'm going to roll him up. So I'm here to win.
That's it. Exactly. So baby faces, wrestle somebody that turns their back to you. Heels, give them a hit, a chop block, whatever, but don't sit there and do the Rock stalking pose and wait for them to turn around, and don't do this thing like get up, like I'm so tired of seeing all this shit. Just stop it. Everybody stop it. Liz says they were in Columbus. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. I'm sure Columbus and Cleveland are just like night and day differences. But yeah. All right. So next, we have. Did you have anything else on this opening match before we move on?
Nah, just like as soon as that happened, they lost me.
Okay, so they lost you right off the pretty much bat. So next we have a situation in the back here where Frank Kazarian what's he doing? Putting on his boots or something, and then Fat Eddie comes and sits down next to him, and basically the yada yada yada. He swears on the grave of Killer Kowalski that he can be trusted. All right, and I'm like, why would I think that makes you trustworthy? Not even swear, maybe swear on a stack of pancakes and I might believe you. But Killer Kowalski's grave, that's not serious enough. So, not really. And then, do you have anything on that?
Nah, but you kind of knew there was going to be some kind of storyline shenanigans going on in the main event with that little pre-tape.
Okay, and then next we have Swan and Callahan have a discussion, and Swan's like, all right, from now on, I got you guys back. I should have been out there, because he wasn't out there to start. It was all his fault that Moose ran down and, ruined the match. It was all Swan's fault. He should have been there, right? Should have known. So, there you go. He's back in, Swan's back in OVE. He's going to have a hat and his vest and everything. So, look forward to that. Then we get Dirty Dango versus Bhupinder Gujar. And Dango grabs the mic and says, "Man, do I hate professional wrestling." And then he hands the mic back. Uh, I would agree with him, except I do like professional wrestling. I'm just not seeing very much of it these days. So, that's basically where we're at. Just when I was getting settled in to be like, all right, let me try to pay attention to this match, he hits a reverse DDT on Gujar and it's over. um, then he goes outside the ring and gets in Gujar's jacket and takes his phone out and starts doing like an Instagram live or something on there. And then Santino comes out and he, hits this son of a gun with the Cobra. So there you go. Thoughts on all this?
I was kind of surprised how quickly they had him beat Gujar. So I thought they were building him to at least doing something with him.
They were at one time. Not so much anymore.
Especially with that diaries that just came out.
Yeah. So what it looks like is that they've built him up just enough so that now people can look like they're getting a credible win as Impact jobs him out.
Yeah, that makes like they done with you, Uemura.
Right.
But then again, that's kind of what he's here to do is just get the reps in.
Right. He's here to get the reps and do the jobs, whereas Gujar was like they were actually pushing him a little bit. And Yuya, I don't know if he's gotten a significant win on this show yet, so I don't really. Okay, fine, whatever you want. But hey, slumps happen. Slumps happen in sports. Gujar's probably just in a slump right now. So let's look at it that way. All right.
He slump.
Gujar sat alone on a chair in the back. Yeah. There we go. All right. No more singing. So yeah, what else? Any other notes on this particular portion of the show?
Nah, just I really wish they'd move on to something else with Dango instead of keeping going back to him and Santino. But they haven't had their match yet, so they just got to get that out of the way.
Yeah, definitely. Got to get one of your major angles with former WWE talent out of the way. All right, so on BTI, Jody Threat hits the F-bomb on Nevaeh, and then afterwards, well, I guess afterwards being now, in real time, the Death Dolls catch these two hugging backstage, and then...
And thanking each other for the match. Are you kidding me?
Why didn't Dango walk through this portion right here?
Exactly.
Okay.
Opponents hugging each other and thanking each other for the match on camera. That's 100% backstage shit that should not be on camera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, this goes on. Because Nevaeh's confused since last time she was there. These were different people altogether. And she's bringing that up, and both of them are like, oh, okay, so what do we do about this? They actually have a huddle that changes the camera angle so it's shooting up from the ground into their faces. So that's real. And they're sitting there discussing this and saying how that this can be a new quest for them, and they like quests, so they're getting an origin story, and basically Nevaeh wants to fill in the backstory on their characters for them. So this is like a meta rib on a few different levels about a few different things. I would complain harder, but I'm too tired, and it's not like it's going to stop them. So what do I, what can I say here?
Man, this is disappointing. This went from my favorite act on the show to basically like a what the fuck moment every week. It's turned into campy, cheesy Disney.
It's quite cheesy. But at least no RGB lights, as Liz points out. Yeah, so there is that. I'll give him that. All right. Zicky Dice passes his referee exam, even though they have him on camera cheating to pass it. But hey, all the referees' decisions are final, so I mean, can't overturn whoever this guy that's giving the quizz's decision to make him a ref. What's done is done. So now Swinger has a guy in his pocket, Daddy.
Man, this is probably like one of the longest, probably the longest running story they've had going is just Swinger's journey. It's his whole adventure from like Swinger's palace to where he's at now.
Yeah. And he's a walking expose the business, right? Like he's just, all these things about thanking people for the match or whatever, and that's a different thing, but it's still he's just doing it. He's making references and stuff that I think would confuse a lot of, if you could even call anybody that watches this a casual wrestling fan. But yeah, I don't know. But again, you've got him helping Zicky with the answer the question to become a referee. So, I guess they're not going to go back and watch this, right? Anything else on that?
Other than, the production errors and catching that and not coming up with a way to get around that so that doesn't be stupid. I mean, I thought it was entertaining.
Every wrestling show should start their weekly episode with a list of apologies and like for the things that they missed that week. Like, oh yeah, we should have seen this guy running out and hitting somebody, in the head with a hammer or whatever they do. Like, we're sorry, we reversed that decision and we fine this person and we award the winner's purse to this person, or what, like that would take up 20 minutes on every show. Speaking of taking up 20 minutes on every show, we still have the design. There's still a thing. This is Angels and Khan versus Speedball and Octopus. They have their tag match. Apparently, the teamwork between these two rivals is much greater than the supposed team of the design. And they hit the ultimate weapon on Angels, and that's that. So there you go. I forgot already if there was anything post-match with this, but I didn't write it down, so I guess there wasn't.
I don't think there was. There was just the finish of Diener yelling at Angels and distracting them to finish the match. And like, it was probably one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen, because here's the finish. Angels is on the top rope about to hit his finish. Diener jumps up on the apron and starts yelling, "Finish him, finish him, finish him." And he basically says, "What do you think I'm doing?"
Disney Channel. Disney Channel. Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense for him to hop up on the apron like that. Just an excuse to get to the finish.
I'm with you. It's the kind of the laziest, most cliched things you could think of that aren't very interesting. Speaking of not very interesting and making excuses, just if anybody's listening to the audio version in the future, when you hear the silence on this show, it's just a lot of exasperated face palming and that kind of thing. That's what you're missing on video. So, be sure to join us live every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, so you can see all the face palming that we end up doing in those silent moments. So yeah, let's see where we go with this new makeshift team of Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham. We can go back in time 10 years to the Impact December 18th edition 2013. This is where Jeff Hardy and Magnus are in some kind of a ladder match, and
this is the Dixieland match.
Dixieland match? Okay.
Yep.
I don't know what that is. Explain that to the people because I've forgotten.
Oh, this was a fun one. They only did it one time. It starts out as a cage match,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to escape the cage. Once you escape the
Mm-hmm.
cage, you have to climb. You have to actually go up the entrance ramp, climb the ladder, and grab the belt that's up on the entrance ramp.
I see. So that's why the ladder was up there and the title was hanging from up there. I forgot about this. Mm. Yes. Well, it's Jeff Hardy's climbing the ladder and Dixie's like no, and then Rockstar Spud comes and pushes him. He takes a nasty fall, but hey, that's Jeff Hardy for you. Then Magnus gets up and climbs up the ladder, and he's the new champion. So this is definitely trying to either foreshadow or subvert expectations for what's going to happen with Aldis and Shelley coming up. They're like, hey, this guy can win a Impact title. He's done it before, 10 years ago.
And also
So,
remind people of his villainous ways.
right, and also get Jeff Hardy in there and Dixie.
Shig.
Yeah, this was an overclip. So
You think Magnus got invited to Overchurch?
I bet him and Hernandez definitely. So Trinity is with Gia and no music underneath, and essentially challenges Jay Vidal to a match next week since he wants to get involved in everything, and that only makes sense. We saw this coming.
Yep.
What does she keep calling him? She kept calling him something. I don't know if she's trying to get a catchphrase over or something, but she kept calling him something boy.
Yeah. I completely missed what it was. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, the chat may be able to. I always turn to the chat in situations like this because as much as I might pay attention, sometimes they pay that much more attention, and when I pay no attention, they can usually save me. So we'll see if they have an answer. But anyway, yeah. So that'll be next week, and let's hope it doesn't get outshined by the return of Zachary Wentz. So next we get Jacobs with Aldis's prepared statement about why he's not there, that he won't be there, and all this other stuff. Interrupted by Shelley, who has some comments for Jacobs, and then he walks off, and then Jacobs like, man wins the title after all this time, and already goes to his head, and then he gets a super kick. Or so I assume, because you don't actually see anything hit the front. You just hear a leg slap sound and him take a bump. So, like, it's quite possible that Shelley just slapped his leg right next to the camera mic and didn't even lift his leg, Because I went back, too. I rewound. I was like, wait, did I even see a shoe in the frame here? Or did he just fall down? So, pretty funny. I'm not saying you gotta really kick him. That is funny to me.
No, I can see why that's funny. That's the way they produce their shots is sometimes is just wow.
Hey, well, for once, I'm with it. That's fine. But yeah. So take that, messenger boy. Alex Shelley, the tough guy champion.
Super kicked you back to AEW. We're going to be seeing a lot more of those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we get next we get what is this? Taylor Wilde versus Killer Kelly. It's next.
Yep.
And Killer Kelly wins with a killer roll up. It's a very serial killer-ish, sexy roll up. She wins, and then they're like, no way. And they go in and double team and kick the shit out of her.
Doughboy, yes. Doughboy.
Or Doughboy. Is it Doughboy or Doughboy?
Doughboy, yeah, Doughboy.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Liz. So anyway, yeah, they're beating up Killer Kelly, and then Masha Slamovich comes in with her music, and she's got a chain, and it looks for a second like, is she gonna join in on the beating? But no, she attacks the coven, and you know, I guess getting hit with the chain's not too bad. They just walk off, and they're like, hey, and then that leaves Masha and Kelly to sort of have that moment in the ring where, um, they're like a little mutual respect, and then Kelly looks like she's reaching out for something, then Masha just leaves. So she's still not quite putting it over, but definitely something going there. So there you go.
Man,
Right.
remember I kept saying like they're going to put them together. They're going to make them a team. They're going to make them a team.
That's right. He willed this into existence. And so now we have contenders for the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Um, let's see. Let us see. And Buckshot Kid called it a month ago. And Alexa's here. Good morning. And we have. All right. So, any thoughts on this match, or seeing everyone's thoughts come to fruition here?
Too predictable.
Okay.
But then again, sometimes, at least in this case, predictable is not a bad thing. It's the journey and how you get there. The problem is there's too much predictable around it to make it stand out.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. Demore with Gia, no music underneath. He throws off his headset, and since he's taking a leave of absence, but he's still wearing his headset after a week. And then he throws that off, and he takes off his coat because he doesn't need to wear a coat anymore. He's on a leave of absence, and then for some reason he throws his watch away. You don't need to know what time it is. You're on a leave of absence. You don't even need to know when your leave of absence is up. Just throw your watch away. Because we all know that the only reason you would wear a fancy watch is because you're the president of a company or something. Nobody else wears watches. 2.5 minutes later, he finally stops rambling and leaves. Is what I wrote down. Did you see anything different here?
No.
No.
No, and they have to replay the Scott D'Amore taking down Bully that many times on the show? Oh, yeah, I forgot he's the president of the company. They have to.
Well, he's on leave of absence, though. So shouldn't they just stop playing it?
Right. He's like, hey, he's not really doing anything with us right now. Why are you continuing to advertise him or promote him?
Why are you people in the truck trying to kiss up to him? He's on a leave of absence. He can't do anything for you. Maybe they're hoping he remembers when he comes back. Yeah, I don't know. Sure, whatever. Scott D'Amore. I'm fine. I know I'm fine with it. I'm just fine with it. This is what I want to see. I'm here for it. Scott D'Amore, ladies and gentlemen. Let's full-time active wrestler. He's back. Let's get him. Let's get him some warm-up matches. Maybe he can face Johnny Swinger. How about here we have Joe Hendry. Now normally Joe Hendry's he had been a highlight of the show, but for some reason it seems to have already the energy has been sucked out of this somewhat. The people aren't reacting the same. There's nothing particularly interesting going on here. His promo is about the supposed human contact with alien life forms and everything, and he was just saying how all the aliens are trying to do is communicate those two words, which is "we believe."
If he would have said that in some made up alien language, that probably would have made it so much better.
Yeah, that would have been a good. That would have been a good twist to it, but whatever. And I guess his opponent is Yu Uemura for the Digital Media Championship, right? Isn't that? This was for the title, right?
I believe so, yes.
Right. Well, I don't know what Yu's done to earn a title shot, but I guess it doesn't matter, right? So maybe I should just watch BTI and find these things out. Hell no. Uh, Kenny King comes out with his music and Sheldon Jeans, but they go to sit on commentary. So there you go. Yu Uemura, to the surprise of no one, gets a standing O from Joe Hendry, and then after the match, Kenny grabs the Digital Media Championship and goes in the ring and delivers it by hand to Joe Hendry and gives him a standing O of his own. And no, I don't mean he hit him with his own move. I mean he clapped for him and applauded him and was just being a disingenuous babyface towards Joe Hendry and congratulating him on his win. So a little something different than I guess you have two. I guess you have two options as a heel. You either attack the guy after the match, which we've seen way too much, or you can be a sarcastic babyface and cheer for the guy for winning, but basically declaring your intentions that they're in your sights. So, which of these two approaches do you prefer?
Yeah, the smart ass, false baby face, like sarcastic. Mostly more my personality, just being kind of smart ass sarcastic.
Right. Any thoughts on the match or anything else?
And it was decent. Again, just give you more of the reps and give Hendry a win.
Yeah. All right, and now we're already at our main event, which is Burt and Bully versus Fat Kazarian. And yeah, I just don't give a fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Bully Ray is automatic checkout at this point.
Yeah, he stopped being interesting when they finished that up thing with him and Alexander.
Yep, and even that was questionable. The Burt Macklin never really cared that much. Fat Eddie,
yeah,
sleep inducing. Frankie Kazarian, I feel sorry for him. None of this is appealing to me. So the finish is, Kazarian has a chicken wing on Macklin, and Macklin's like, "Bully, help!" Bully did not help. And then as he's being chicken winged by Kazarian, Fat Eddie comes in for a super kick. He's gonna kick Macklin, but instead he hits Kazarian, and it's like, okay. Then Kazarian gets they shit can Eddie, and then they hit Kazarian with the sort of neck breaker back suplex combo, and Macklin pins him. Going back and looking at the replay of this a few times, I say is it an errant super kick because nobody moved.
Yep, and it looked like he was aiming right for Kazarian's head.
Right, so nobody moved. He just sat there. Now this could have been a case of like, we want to build the intrigue between these two, and make it look like Eddie's a liar and he's sinister, and despite what he said, he'd be willing to cost himself a match just so that he could nail Kazarian with a super kick. Maybe it could have been that, or it could have been that everybody in this match is so bad that it just looked like this, and he was supposed to sort of duck out of the way. Macklin was supposed to sort of duck out of the way, and he didn't. It could go either way at this point, because I'm not giving anybody any credit here. But let's just, for the benefit of the doubt, let's just go with the first one and say that it was planned to be ambiguous. Even though, if that is the case, nobody on earth could have mistaken the fact that that Macklin just sat in place and did not duck out of the way. He just sat there, and Eddie super kicked right over his head to hit Frankie Kazarian. So there you go. Read into that what you will. Yeah, there you go. There's your finish. So overall thoughts on the match and the finish?
way too long. They could have gotten what they needed to accomplish and got the business done they needed to get done in about 60% of the time.
Yeah. 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 Also, if you're going towards something with Kazarian and Eddie, I'm sorry, didn't Kazarian just beat him clean?
Right, exactly. That story's over.
Yeah, what else is there? You know? Like, I understand that they think that you can start a new story by saying, okay, we had our match and we're Kowalski guys now. I realize that. You beat the sense into me. Now we need to stick together. But just to like continue to screw them over just to have another match, I don't know if this is a money
Right.
program for these guys.
Right. The only way this storyline could work and make sense is if Eddie Edwards is being legitimate and genuine.
Right. And I'll be honest, I don't want to see that either. I don't
Right.
wanna see
Nobody really cares.
Yeah. Now, if you had a non-decisive finish for their first match, then you can build off of that. I thought it was pretty cut and dried. So, I don't know. I don't know. And
I don't know.
and I'm not gonna know at this point. This is now your job on your Substack to fix these things. That's it. It's none of my business. So, but speaking of my business and our business, that kind of wraps up this episode of Impact and therefore this episode of Impact Attack. I will give this show a I don't care out of 10 because I didn't care. And one lousy Moose sighting and one Joe Hendry squash match for a title does not change my opinion whatsoever. So, if anybody's got anything else that they want to talk about or comment or ask, now's the time. Otherwise, we're going to get the F out, just like the WWF in 2002. So,
the floor belongs to the sea.
That's right. So, while we're waiting for anything to show up, I guess we can talk about some plugs. Anything that you got going on coming up. Let everybody know where they can find you, follow you. Love you, adore you.
You can find me on Twitter at TransArcusTia, as well as on Twitch at Miss Tia. I'm so sorry. Twitch.tv /Miss Tia the Transarchist. I got a stream going tomorrow night.
Okay.
And
what
also
time is that stream?
It'll be probably
not sure yet.
Probably around 8:30 Central Time.
Okay.
And then also on the Substack at HMG Brandon.
All right. So we got that Substack for you. You can see exactly how these nips and tucks may affect the episodes and the future of Impact. As for me, well, shit, where can't you find me at this point? Quite frankly, I'm getting a little tired of this. No, I'm just kidding. I always like hanging out with you guys, talking to you guys, and providing insight onto this wacky world of, man, do I hate professional wrestling. So, just as of earlier this morning, you can find me on the Monday Locker Room with Ben Hameen, where we go over a lot of stuff, including the Danielson thing and should he retire? Like, should he hang it up? Are these signs that he's, you know, his time in the ring is probably it's definitely closer to the end than it is at the beginning, but is the end here? And then you've also got, you know, we got a brand new show on HMG, Brandon. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it's AEW Wreckage. So we talk about AEW Collision. That's right. So I've been able to, you know, do a run-in on that show a couple weeks in a row. I'm not going to make it like 100% of a weekly thing, but ever since since AEW's added a new show and that cuts into my Sunday streaming time when HMD has to do a review show on it, I figure, well, I'm sitting around waiting to stream, might as well jump in and say hello. So I've been doing that, but I want to hand off the guys, or hand it off to the guys and let them take care of it, for the most part, because I'm oversaturating the brand, which also includes, of course, my 2 weekly shows. Besides this one, you also have the on Wednesday mornings, you have the Next Level Wrestling Review with myself and Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday, 8 a.m. live, Pacific, and 11 a.m. Eastern. So check us out there. We'll talk about NXT and a bunch of other stuff. However, this Wednesday is a little different. Not so much on Next Level, but as Liz is asking, who will be your first AEW match on Fight Forever? I don't know. I just don't know. That may be up to you guys. I might boot up the game and go through the roster and say, all right, who wants to see what? And the reason I'm saying that is because with my Elite Edition early access, oddly enough, with the countdown clock till digital release, the clock runs out at, I believe it's 9 a.m. Eastern Wednesday morning. So, odd time for a game to be available to play. So I guess what I'll do is I'll start streaming at 9 a.m. for about 2 hours. Then I'll do the Next Level Wrestling Review. And then I'll jump back on afterwards. And, I continue from there. So if you guys would like to join me for that, that's your time. That's your time window. Set your alarms for 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, for AEW Fight Forever debut stream. Let's make me the #1 Fight Forever streamer in the North American region, possibly the world. Let's do that. I'm inviting you all to do that. And even if you can't make the debut, just stick around for after Next Level. Stick around for the following days, because I've taken some time off of work recently, and what better way to spend that time than to kind of play this game and see what it's all about. And what's the game for tomorrow? Game for tomorrow? Well, tomorrow is True Crime Tuesdays on Twitch. So I will be playing LA Noire. And man, what if I just decide I want to blow through the rest of the game and finish it? Could be a marathon session. So join me again, twitch.tv/OpinionHaver. It's Opinion Haver everywhere. You don't have to ask. People still ask. The other day, Jimmy asked me, hey, what's your Twitch? I was like, Jimmy, what are you talking about? Opinion Haver everywhere. When I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. If it ain't Opinion Haver, it's not me. Okay? Unless it is. But it isn't. So, that's where you can find me. Did I give up on Road 96? No, I did not. I'm just waiting for the right time to play it. So we'll continue that at another time, but that's a game that's sort of evergreen or relevant at any moment. I don't have to play at any specific times. Are we still homicide detectives? We got promoted to Vice. We are now Vice cops, so we're investigating drugs and other stuff and hoes. So there you go. And what I do with LA Noire, Brandon, is I do like a solve along with the chat, and when I interrogate the people, I let them decide whether the person's telling the truth, whether they're holding information back, or if they're outright lying. So we give them like 60 seconds to vote on the answer, and in the event of a tie in the chat, I'll break it with the correct answer and just go with the correct answer to move the game along. So it's been pretty fun and interactive. It's an interesting way that I came up with to try to do a stream that's a little bit different. Anybody can just play a game and sit there, but getting the people involved is, for some people they just want to lurk, but other people are looking for new ways to interact, and I feel like that's a fun one, and they've seemed to like it. So we're gonna continue on with that tomorrow, and that's going to be probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, I want to say 10:30 Eastern AM to start, and we'll go as long as I can stay awake, since I don't have to go to work that night. But I do have to watch AEW. Not AEW. I have to play AEW the next morning, and I have to watch NXT that night so that I can review it that morning, in between playing AEW Fight Forever. So, if that's not enough I don't know what else to tell you. I think I've given you plenty of information on where you could find me. I think we're run out of questions here. Is there anything else you want to say to the people before we get out of here, Brandon?
Whoop whoop. Much love.
All right. He loves you. So for Brandon, I've been the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.